Let's act like we didn't just record another short before this, and so
That's easy to do because we didn't.
Nice. Because interestingly enough, this one's going to come out before that one. What? Did I just?
What? Stop peeking behind the curtain.
Oh,
There is no wizard here,
no
but
wizard.
there is a couple of Dawdlers.
There's definitely a
One of
couple of
whom
Dawdlers.
is I. And who am I? I'm Harland Wicked Proportions Grant.
I'm Ryan
Who the fuck are
Malecki.
you?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you. I'm Ryan Molecular Red McKenna.
Molecular Red?
That's right. Don't question it.
I don't get it. Okay, but no questions. Someone out there will get it. And this is Dawdlers Philosophy Shorts, episode whatever it is. Recorded originally on one night, not late at night after multiple whiskeys.
Mm.
Shorts! Music time! Listen, here's the thing. I got a deal. You want to make? Let's make a deal. Let's make a deal.
Okay.
I've got 3 doors. Behind one is something that you desire.
Okay.
And because I know you, I'm going to say that that's a really fancy car. It's a minivan, though, because you got a bunch of kids you need to put in there. So there's a minivan behind one door, but behind the other 2 are goats. And you don't want goats because that's more responsibility and you don't want to have to deal with it. 3 doors, and one of the things you want to accumulate, and the other 2 things you don't want those. I'm going to be nice and let you pick which door you want to try. Like, what you want? Which thing do you want? Like, behind the door number, which do you want me to give you?
Is it door A, B, and C or something?
1, 2, and 3, we shall call them.
And I don't know what's behind either of those 3 doors. In what order? Like, I don't know if it's goat behind 1 and 3 or
They
whatever.
were the car, the minivan, and the goats were placed there through employment of the most sophisticated pseudo-random number generator accessible to humanity 2019.
Okay. And do you know which one is behind which door at this point? Or you also, is this a double blind?
No, I know, but I'm just not gonna fucking tell you. I'm the game show host, and I'm playing you up.
All right.
But I
So
know
I'm
everything.
gonna,
Like I know it all.
okay. So I'm gonna, because I, I, I don't know if it's part of the joke or if you don't know me at all, but I would very much prefer a goat over a minivan. So you don't know nothing. So
No, okay, you're not playing your role, goddammit. I am stipulating that the
Okay.
minivan is desirable to the role that you're supposed to play on this podcast.
Okay.
And the goats are a problem.
Okay. I choose Bob. I mean, whatever your
My
name
name's
was.
Monty.
Monty. Monty Don? No.
Monty Hall. I am Monty Hall.
I like Monty Don. He does the gardens. It's really nice. Anyway. Terrific. I choose door number 2, Monty.
Okay. All right. You can try door number 2, but look, okay, let me show you something first. Before we open door number 2. There's a gimmick to this show.
Of course there is.
I'm going to open this door over here. Creak sound effect. Goat sound effect. There's a goat behind door number 3.
Good work.
Now, the question is, now that you've seen that there's a goat behind door number 3, and there's still one goat remaining and a minivan remaining.
I said door number 2. Oh, you're showing me door number 3.
You
Sorry.
said door number 2. And that, so that's your bet. But I'm opening up this one and be like, aren't you happy that you didn't pick number 3?
Yeah, I guess. I'm so
But, all
happy.
right, so now that you know, do you want to switch doors to door number 1, or do you want to stick with your original intuition that door number 2 has the desirable prize? The audience goes crazy with anticipation.
Are they
And
yelling door
yells
number 1?
suggestions to you.
Yeah, I like that. I like
Most
that a
of the
lot.
audience says you should probably stay where you're at. I mean, that the host is trying to trick you and get you to switch.
How many people in the audience have hair parted in the middle that's kind of feathered with like little mustaches? Like how many of the dudes, and they're wearing like a tight kind of, polo shirt, short sleeve thing, and they've got, their pants are, everything's kind of like tight and it's like the 80s. Is this what it's like? Please tell me yes.
Are you making a reference to that Price is Right guy that they just did a documentary about?
I didn't see the documentary, but I'm kind of making a reference to just that world of like consumerism. And the women have like the blouse and the feathered hair and it's parted down the middle and they're like, "Turn number 1!" Just paint the scene, man. I need this.
For those of you who are new to this show, this is why it's the Dawdlers.
Sure fucking is.
There are no people in the audience that meet that description.
Can I talk to the new listeners for just half a second before we get into this? Just so you know, we're Dawdlers, and there's a lot of stuff out there in social media that you're going to see, and they're going to be like, do less, and blah, blah, blah. I write shit at Medium or whatever. Just remember us. Every time there's like no, do less, don't do so much, don't be such a hustler. Think Dawdler's Philosophy Podcast. All right. Door number 2 or door number 1. I see there's a goat behind door number 3. I'm Alex or Bob or whatever your name is.
Monty!
I'm sticking with door number 2.
Oh, yeah? Well, you're an idiot then. Because you have made a choice that only wins 33% of the time, and switching is the mathematically correct answer.
Great.
And that it has a car behind it 66% of the time. What? Shouldn't it be 50? There's 2 unknown doors.
Settle a little tiff that Kevin and I are having.
Let's be honest, Raymond, it's not a tiff, it's a row.
And now it's a scene.
It's okay, sir. We don't want to get involved in your personal life.
It's not personal, it's a math problem.
Pass.
Raymond and I had dinner together last night for the first time in 2 weeks, thanks to the night shift.
And Kevin thought it would be fun to spoil our date with an inane math problem, to which his answer is wrong.
Enough foreplay. Let's get to the numbers.
It's the Monty Hall problem. Imagine you're on a game show. There are 3 doors, behind one of which is a car.
You're telling it wrong. There are 3 doors, behind one of which is a car. You pick a door. The host, who knows where the car is, opens a different door, showing you there's nothing behind it. Now the host asks if you'd like to choose the other unopened door. Should you do it?
No.
Yes.
It's simple math. It doesn't make any sense to switch. The prize is behind one of 2 doors. It's a 50-50 chance either way.
It's 2/3 if you switch, 1/3 if you don't. The probability locks in when you make the choice. We've been over this 8 times.
7 times.
And there's a goat behind one and a car behind the other. That's a 50-50. Wrong! Anyway, I assume you're familiar with this.
I'm familiar with it.
How many in the audience would or would not be? But this is a famous problem in statistics, mathematics, philosophy, etc., that they call the Monty Hall problem after the host of the show Let's Make a Deal that aired in the, 60s and 70s or something?
Probably more, not the 60s, I'm guessing.
Okay. It's all the same to me. I'm young. And they would literally do this, right? They would have a fancy prize behind a door, and everyone, it was a game show, and they would bring people out and play this on them. They would ask them to pick something, and then the omniscient host would open up one of the doors that had the zonk behind it, and then they would ask them if they wanted to stay or switch. It was published in what became a famous article apparently by Steve Slevin in American Statistician, 1975, and then has been written and debated about fiercely ever since. Because apparently there were, quote unquote, thousands of readers, many of whom had PhDs, in mathematics who wrote into the magazine to say, no, this analysis is wrong. I can't, I won't accept it. And they debated and debated. But it has since, as far as I can see from the literature, been proven to most people's satisfaction that switching is the statistically correct answer. And it is not a 50-50 chance, but rather a 66-33. And what this brings up to me is the general topic of the notion of
counterintuitiveness.
and inversely intuition, which we've talked about on previous episodes of the Dawdler philosophy. So many even professional people who supposedly know about stats seem to find this really hard to swallow, to the extent that I encountered this so long ago that I don't remember my initial intuitions, but I think that I was one of those who was quote unquote fooled at first and thought, what? No, it shouldn't make a difference. And it's 50-50 and blah, blah, blah. Do you, you said you've heard of it. What's your thoughts, initial or otherwise?
Well, I'm just thinking about how you said he was a statistician. And I'm like, did he study statisticiry?
Did I say that instead of statistician?
Yes, but let me quibble because it's fun. I never really, I've heard it, but unfortunately I never really had the chance. Like, they didn't play the game with me whenever I was learning it. They were just sort of outlining the problem and then showing how it was done.
Yep.
Rather than giving me an opportunity to use my intuitions or something like that. Yeah. But honestly, I wasn't really, my head is someplace else, so that when you were laying this all out there, it was all just like unfolding in front of me, and I was like, what'll happen next? So just like, I don't know. But yeah, I it's one of those things. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not too I'm not like super duper familiar in terms of I haven't really sat down with it and stuff like that, but I understand the problem.
Okay. According to Granberg and Brown, 1995, apparently only 13% of people are switchers. And though the correct answer is switching. So not only are our intuitions wrong, the intuition is that it's 50-50. But then you combine on top of that some sort of other cognitive bias for it's a personal value that I stick to my choices or whatever, so that not only do 50-50 people choose to switch or stay, because if we were statistically accurate and our intuitions said it was 50-50, then 50% of people would switch. But only 13% of people in this particular study of 228 subjects chose to switch. So to me, that's really telling that not only do we have the statistical intuitions wrong, we add on top of it these other biases that make us do it extra wrong.
I gotta love it. It makes you wonder what else we're fucking up so bad.
Right. And that's what I'm saying and this goes back to the whole Robert Anton Wilson model agnostic stuff about, we don't know what the fuck is going on. No one should take themselves or anyone else so seriously and confidently, because about anything, I think this kind of Monty Hall paradox or whatever we call it might apply. That many people, even quote unquote experts who ought to know better, could at any given time hold an opinion about something. It could be very popular and well established, and there could be articles published about it, and they could just be totally wrong. And 20 years down the line, after we've worked it out with computerized models and formulas and all this stuff and arguments, we've figured out, nope, it really is preferable to switch doors. As counterintuitive as that seems.
Yeah.
If you spell out the protocol of the host to make sure that we get this really clear, like the car has to be placed randomly at first in order for this to work. The host has to have perfect knowledge as to where the desirable result is. And the host has to always reveal a zonk when they open a door. Like, it can't be, you pick door number 1, I open door number 3. Oh shit, there's the car. Like, that can never happen in order for this problem to work out properly.
Mm-hmm.
And so that your choice to switch is always the chosen door and some other door. And that is, I think, the key to the answer. Like, we have to bring in the omniscience of the opener of the one door. If every aspect of it were random, then I don't think it would hold up. Like, if Monty Hall was just randomly opening a door that might have a goat or a car, because that would ruin the whole thing. Once the door has been opened, that changes the total information capacity of your second choice. Your first choice had, 30, an even equal 33% information choice. It might be 1, it might be 2, it might be 3. Because it's random, you have no idea, and your choice is equally random. After the host opens a door, though, it's not that there has been 2 random 33% selections. There was 1 random selection and 100% information selection. Because he always will open a goat door. That's what makes the second choice different than the first. Does that make any sense?
It makes sense to me.
Another way that they spell it out to try to, utilize intuitions more and help you out is say, all right, well, let's change the game. Let's say there are 100 doors instead of merely 3. And you select door number 2 out of 100. And then Monty goes and opens up 98 doors that all have 98 goats. And then says, would you like to switch from door number 2 to door number 23? Does that change your intuition? It's like, oh, of course you should change, because the guy who knows where the car is opened up 98 goat doors. Of course, in that situation, you want to change. And the point is, it's no mathematically different in the 3-door choice than in the 100-door choice. The point is about the epistemic position you're in at choice 1 and choice 2. And your epistemic position differs. Therefore, the correct choice differs. And it always is switch. 3 is just the minimum number required to play the game. But it can be 100 doors, 1,000 doors, 1,000,000 doors. Make it bigger and bigger until your intuition finally gets the point. Oh yeah, I need to switch. Switching is always preferable. A mathematician, Keith Devlin, wrote this quote that I find useful for understanding it.
By opening his door, Monty is saying to the contestant, there are 2 doors you did not choose. The probability that the prize is behind one of those is 2/3. I'll help you out by using my knowledge of where the prize is to open one of those 2 doors and show you that it does not hide the prize. So now you can take advantage of this additional information. ...
And that also to me is very telling. And this is another well-known artifact of the cognitive bias literature from, Kaufman et al. That if you just tell the story problem differently, mathematical intuitions are very manipulable. If you phrase it in terms of teamwork between the host and the contestant rather than competition, like that the host doesn't want you to win, because that's the assumption that most of us have going in, the social assumption. Well, the game show, the host, the company doesn't want to give away cars. So probably the host is trying to manipulate you to switch off of your choice. So I'm going to stick with it. I think that's part of the explanation of why most people stick. That we have this wider contextual assumption. The host works for the company who's giving away the car, and he doesn't want to give away the car. So he's going to try to push me off my choice. So fuck him, I'm going to stick. But if you just rephrase it with a new contextual assumption that the host is attempting to help you, which is actually what's happening in the math, then our intuitions seem, oh, okay, I see. You're going to try to help me out, and I'm going to just use your new information to make the switch. I don't know. I like that also to manipulate the intuitions.
That definitely makes it even clearer
Yeah.
and that's a wonderful way to do it. I think that's brilliant. That's like a hint,
Right.
which is good. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. But we get stuck. You were talking about you were using the word entrenched. We get entrenched. We get that rut, and we get into it, and it's really difficult for us to imagine beyond that confinement of thinking and put ourselves in a completely different context or circumstance, whatever you want to call it, to perhaps provide new perspective that gives us potentially even an advantage in whatever the situation is. I kind of think of it like what people don't do is psych themselves up to be better decision makers or whatever. Kind of like, at least in America, pro football players psych themselves up to go, bash heads with people and stuff like that. Otherwise, they'd probably prefer not to be extraordinarily physical, because in a way, we all kind of avoid physical conflict. It seems to me that seems to be a state in nature where, if two animals are competing for a mate, like two males are competing for a female or something like that, rams butting heads or whatever, they're going to actually work it out so that they minimize the harm that's done, you know and they're or a lot of animals will just tend to avoid conflict, like there might be some predators or animals that, like a bear that could kill and eat you, like a black bear or something like that, but it might actually prefer to avoid any kind of conflict interaction, because you know let's just say natural selection has been more favorable, or those who have had the traits to avoid and just to, forget about it, not, go after it, have benefited from that, because maybe part of the time they actually don't do very well. And so, for us, we get stuck in that. Maybe, I don't know if it's evolutionarily related, but the idea that we'll just stick with our intuition, we'll just, maybe this is a good place to do the sunk cost fallacy. I don't know. Like, I chose door number 2, damn it, and now I'm going to go, like door number 2 all the way. I don't care what you've shown me. It's 50-50, something, like whatever the logic is that goes behind the decision making. It makes you feel, it makes you feel like what you're presented with is not a different, you can't see it in a different context,
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I was thinking, but that's not what I was thinking before, when I was like, oh well.
No, that's what you're thinking now. Would you agree or say that, do you think it would be fair to say that conflict is inherently costly?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, okay.
in the long run.
So that in order to reasonably, willfully engage in conflict, one would have to have high confidence that they would be victorious more often than not, and that the cost benefit analysis type thing. You have to run a epistemically responsible cost benefit in order to reasonably engage in conflict, given that it always costs.
I mean, I would say, you want to go in pretty confident about your ability to win, for sure.
So I don't know. One of the reasons I really like the Monty Hall problem in a larger philosophical context is that I'm such an anti-intuitionist and skeptic and epistemic responsibility arguer. I think this you go do the empirical work and you establish with a very high degree of confidence that most human intuitions 2019 or whatever run counter to what is well arguable. The best argument we have in 2019 is switching is the correct strategy from a long-term betting statistical perspective. But empirically, we see that most people don't engage in that. When we explain why they don't engage in that, we invoke the notion of intuitions and other cognitive biases, and then so, hey, everybody, stop it. Stop fucking caring about your intuitions. They are not reliable. They are not trustworthy. They lead you to miss out on optimal betting strategies. So, fuck intuition. Comments?
It's like, I'm biased in my evolutionary thinking, but it's like the whole, is it access, do you access truth, or, does an adaptation just, find what works, and if, you don't die and you do very, you survive and reproduce or whatever, then that's all that matters. What you're saying is, let's go beyond it, there's a whole frontier, there's a whole world out there, and we can access it, and we can do
let's
things.
go to the galaxy of reasonable decision making where no man has gone before.
And potentially no organism, biological system has
Where
gone before.
Yeah, right.
And that to me is two things, both exciting potentially, and also, and I would imagine for some people this would be the case, it's also frightening because there's comfort in familiarity. This is why we have ruts,
Yeah.
Well, it worked. Don't broke what ain't fit, or fix what ain't broke, or whatever the fuck I'm trying to say. Don't broke what ain't fixed. But something like that. And that's what I'm thinking, that's what the intuitions serve, and they've done a really good job, But is that where we want to stay? I don't know how you get there. I don't know if it's just straight up arguments that make the difference, or if there's a huge amount of infrastructural change that has to happen to get people to, accept counterintuitive results. Because there's a lot of reactionary blowback to that. People are like, oh, people love counterintuitive results because it's cool or whatever. And there's a reaction against it, to say, hey, sometimes the obvious thing is correct, guys. Just stop trying to be different. And I think that
sometimes it is, but not all times it's correct, and some but not all times the counterintuitive result is correct. So, at most, take the intuitive suggestion as a data point, but nothing more, I think would be my recommendation.
Nope, we're choosing door number 1 every time.